Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Francesca, and welcome to your July 2025 astrology and tarot. We are going to talk about main astrological transits, then some favorable days for love and career, and then I also pulled some tarot cards for little extra insight, wisdom, guidance, all the beautiful things. So, if that's something you're interested in, fabulous. Keep watching. So, this month, we have three planets going retrograde, which groovy. I'm down with that, right? It's learning to work with the energies in the best way possible, right? But what's interesting is when I tuned into the overall theme for the month, there was this theme of curiosity and being open. Like that seemed to be super important is being open. So be open for opportunities, messages to come in, adjustments, all sorts of things, but in a really good way. So being present and being open. So that just feels really smooth. I don't know. So, all right, let's dive in. On the 4th, we have Venus entering Gemini. And then Neptune starts retrograde in Aries. And so there you may feel a little foggy around that time, for lack of a better word. So when you may have that like mental fog or to me, it's always an invitation then to connect in deeper into your intuition. So if there's something that's not clear up here, you can maybe get clarity in another power center, right? So in your heart, in your gut. So once again, Venus is all about the heart. So tuning into that energy as Neptune begins the retrograde. On the 7th, Uranus enters Gemini. Um, what's interesting is there is also a thing about achievement as well. Because that's super close. So we have the full moon in Capricorn on the 10th. And like I said, like when I tuned in, there was this thing about achievement, um, adjustment, but in the best way of moving forward, of completion. So really favorable days around that time for career or even relationship, maybe moving forward in a relationship. On the 13th, Saturn goes retrograde in Aries, right? Good times. So Saturn, when it goes retrograde, can sometimes feel constricting. And what I appreciate about that is sometimes when things can feel constricting, that's then an opportunity to get more creative, right? Isn't there the expression where invention is like based on like necessity? So it's like the necessity is you're feeling, you have a constriction, you do this. So then, okay, I need to be a little more creative right now. And once again, that links back to that whole like being open that I had tuned into from the get, right? And then on the 18th, Mercury goes into retrograde. Fabulous. Always an opportunity to go inward and reflect. Um, and really an opportunity to reconnect with your heart. What's interesting too is there was a lot coming through about second chances this month as well. And that's interesting because we have, like I said, we have those three planets in retrograde. We have Venus changing signs. Um, and so there may be an old flame that comes back. And that said, use your discernment. You are wiser now, so you get to create what path you choose. So just because something may come back up from the past doesn't mean that you necessarily have to choose that thing or continue with that thing. Or depending how things have developed, awesome. Be open, right? Those are that whole like be open. Something new, a new layer, a new level. So all good things. All right. Then on the 22nd, Sun enters Leo. So happy birthday to all Leos out there. Yay. And to me, Leo is always a a heart-based energy. Um, I always think of like the cowardly lion, but to me, it's the opposite of the cowardly lion. And I think to me, Leo is strength, right? And that's the symbol of the strength card in the tarot. And it takes great strength to maintain an open heart and to be kind. I think for people that maybe just beginning their journey, struggle with understanding that, and perhaps in past experiences, people have viewed kindness as weakness. But to me, Leo is like the perfect example of that strength and maintaining kindness no matter what, because you're strong enough to withstand whatever comes your way. Like you've earned those chops, right? Um, all right, so that came through for somebody. And then on 24th, we have the new moon, of course, in Leo. And then on the 30th, Venus enters Cancer. And there is a lot of connection going on this month as well. Like there's a lot of layers going on in July, and it's all really good. Um, so extra layers of connection. So I think really after the 30th, when Venus moves into Cancer, deepening connection, making new connections, anything along those lines for the next couple weeks is super supportive, and it's going to feel very natural. You might meet somebody that feels like home to you, or like I said, deepen a connection where it gets even stronger and even more, we'll say, like second nature, right? Okay, so now some days that are favorable. I had to write these down because there were a few. And once again, use your judgment. Take what resonates, leave the rest. These are just when I tune in and then I look at the transits, what I see to be days that are extra supportive. Of course, being the person that I am, I think every day is an opportunity for love, abundance, joy, because you get to create what you surround yourself with and you get to choose your thoughts, right? So for love, um, and or relationships in general, it could be friendships, it could be partnerships at work as well, but the really strong like connection, nurturing vibe. So those days are the 3rd, the 7th, the 18th, the 19th, the 22nd, and the 30th, of course, when Venus changes signs into Cancer. And then for career, work, or projects, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a career. It could be a hobby, or maybe you're thinking of starting a hobby. Um, so those days are the 6th, the 10th, the 11th, the 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th, the 20th, I can't read my writing, 24th, 28th, and 31st. So lots of support this month. Um, it just feels like I said, there's a fresh new, there's a wind of change, there's a fresh new breeze coming into town. Okay. So I pulled some cards, and I know if you've been following this, if you've been watching these for a while, you know there are no coincidences. I could not make this up if I tried. So I actually did two different decks and then chose an inquiry card, so we'll get to that last because that, of course, I think is the culmination of all the things. So the overall for the month, just kind of tune into the energy, like what wisdom, insight, connecting the astrology with the tarot and the star card. Oh, sorry for the lights there. The star card. And on this card, we have Nyx. And so the star card always comes after the tower moment, right? So tower moment, um, a lot of people see it as destruction. It can be to varying degrees, but to me, it's really just clearing out the old to make room for the new. And so behind that, you always have the star. So to me, star is always that hope, the new beginning, um, the renewal. There's a rejuvenation, which I think is really interesting because of all the cancer and the water and the emotions and then the retrogrades, but there's this rejuvenation, this renewal. And I think that's great because to me, Mercury retrograde is always a time to like rest, renew, reset, review. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. And what I also love is Nyx was born out of chaos, right? So she was created out of the chaos. And I think that's perfect for following the perhaps chaos of the tower. So if you had a tower moment in June, July is the promise of a new beginning, right? Okay, so then this is quite hilarious. Then I pulled three more cards from another deck, and they're all water. So we have the eight of water, then the six of water, and then the four of water. And trust me, I shuffle and I shuffle and I shuffle and I shuffle. So when these came out, I was like, fascinating. Um, so the Eight of Water was the first one that came out. And to me, that can is about a journey of discovery. It can be a letting go moment. Um, but it's also to me this journey of discovery for greater authenticity, for realizing perhaps an inner strength that you didn't know you had, or a talent you didn't have, or a wisdom that has now come to the surface. So once again, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect for all the things that we already discussed. Then the next one is the Six of Water. And whilst there is a bit of nostalgia about this, which once again, we have the retrogrades, and I said, an old flame may show up, or maybe something from work comes up. Um, you don't necessarily like it is always welcome and I think useful to reflect when things resurface from the past. And the trick is not then staying there or thinking, kind of idealizing the past. I think a lot of times, especially if it's been an amount of time, we can kind of see things maybe through rose tinted glasses and we forget perhaps all the other layers that were involved with that. And so it's just using your discernment. Once again, trusting your instincts. That said, sometimes things come up for us to revisit for a reason. Maybe there's something that still needs to be complete, or maybe it's time for a new cycle with this, whatever it may be, whatever your own situation is. Because once again, this is just a general overview. So once again, I think that's interesting with the reflection, and we have the Mercury retrograde, and then the next card of this one was the Four of Wands, which once again is a very kind of dreamy state. It's introspective. Um, but it's also being open to the abundance of opportunities, which I absolutely love. So it's like you start on the journey, you have this new beginning, right? This hope, this renewal, this rejuvenation, this journey that of discovery within yourself. You reflect, you revisit, and then you're open to the abundance of opportunities, right? And so once again, this just links so perfectly to when I had first tuned into the whole curiosity and being open. And so another little tidbit of advice, take it or leave it, resonates great. If not, great. You're your best judge. Is when things do come up, approach them from a space of curiosity and just be like, oh, hmm, that's interesting, because that keeps you more in a neutral space, right? Be like, huh, wonder what that's about. Hmm. Or what's the opportunity here? Because a lot of times nostalgia can then stir up emotions for most people. And when we get caught in an emotion, then we can lose the clarity, we can lose the neutrality. And while it is great to honor those emotions, honor and be like, oh, goodness, I'm experiencing XYZ, whatever it may be, then just breathe through it and be like, okay, so what's that about? What's that really about? And you can put on your little scholar cap or whatever cap you want and kind of look at it from a different perspective, right? From that curious space. So then I was guided. I hadn't pulled one of these for a video for a minute, but I was guided to my inquiry deck again. And so the card that came up was, what do I want to create? Which I think is a fabulous question. And so by the end of July, having experienced everything that you are and that you will, looking at that once again from the space of curiosity, or even moments throughout, like on the new moon, on the full moon, when Mercury retrograde starts, when Venus changes signs, what do I want to create? And then this goes back to the deeper authenticity. So maybe what you thought you really wanted, maybe that's adjusted somehow. And that's great. Like you're not tied to one thing. You have the ability to change, to choose, to adjust, to pivot. And so then once again, that comes up with the Four of Water and being open to the abundance of opportunities. So it just feels, while there's a dreaminess about it, there's this achievement about this month. There's a curiosity. So there's emotion, but there's also movement. I feel like if you were to watch the movie of July at the end, you'd be like, wow, that had it all. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I deeply appreciate each and every one of your views. So in the comments, put a little water or a wave emoji. That would be great, because we're going to surf it. We're just going to surf through July, and all the magnificent things that are to come. All right. So thank you so much. Click subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends. If it added a little sparkle to your day, don't keep it to yourself, and help spread the love vibes around the world. And until next time, more love vibes to come. Ciao.